Hey guys, Ryan here. If you're one of the little turkeys on my football team who ended up finding my YouTube channel, I better not hear this intro at practice tomorrow. If you're not one of those turkeys and you're just someone who watches my YouTube videos, then let me break down how to actually properly peek and play angles because this is going to be crucial in Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. You can pretty much take this info I'm about to give you and apply it to any first person shooter game pretty much in the entire world. This is called cutting the pie. So if you're trying to find someone by peeking a corner and you don't know exactly where they're at, you need to quote unquote cut the pie. What this means is you look one area, you see if there's anyone there, then you slowly peek. And this is like cutting a pie. Your angle of where you're looking and where you're trying to find is going to slowly increase, and over time you're going to cut the entire pie if you keep going. What this means is you're going to see what you're doing in the background. I peek, if I don't see him, then I go a little bit over. And I'm going to keep this up the entire time. If you watch my gameplay, if you watch any top player's gameplay, and especially when you play Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, you understand why this is so important. And this is something that, as I said before, is a literal fundamental skill you can take with you into any first-person shooter, period. But I once again have to reiterate, this is how you peek if you don't know where your enemies are and you don't want to just die. You don't want to run out in the open. You don't want to expose yourself away from cover. You want to play cover. You want to slowly peek. And as I said before, you want to cut the pie. And this is exactly what you're seeing. I'm looking for my opponent, and boom, after I slowly cut the pie, I got my crosshairs right on their head and I was able to get a free kill. This is, as I said before, a crucial skill to learn. It's one thing if you know where your enemy is at. If you have the intel, this is not the proper way to peek. What you want to do then is you want to use some type of movement. You want to try and get peeker's advantage. You want to do something like a jump shot, a slide cancel, a bunny hop, whatever. However, if you don't know where your opponent's at, then you need to learn to cut the pie and actually play your angles properly, especially in Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, as I keep stressing. That game is much slower, guys. If you want to be a good player, you need to learn to actually do this and play angles properly. When you watch my gameplay or any top player's gameplay, this is something you'll see them do, but you probably didn't realize it. This is one of those core skills that any player who's good at shooters will have, but they might not even realize they have this skill. This is something you learn over time. It just makes sense logically to a lot of people, but a lot of people just need to hear it once and then they understand the idea. Now, the next thing I'm going to cover is how to clear rooms and how to actually play without intel on your opponents. Now, this is something that kind of bothers me when watching a lot of people, is they don't anticipate their opponents being around corners, and this is a terrible habit to have. You always want to play like your enemies are waiting around the corner and like they're right there. So one thing you're going to notice is watch how I peek these buildings. I'm going to go in, I'm looking. I know there's not really anyone in this building, but I'm still going to check. I'm clearing out. I start with the close angle that keeps me hidden behind the door, and then I look beyond that. This is one thing that most people don't do. They just bust in the room. They are not trying to cover themselves. They are not thinking of how exposed they are. When you open a door, I'd recommend to peek it if you don't know anyone's in there and slowly clear out the room. If you go back in slow motion and watch what I did, I open the door, I look at that angle where I'm covered directly where I peeked the door. If I don't see anyone there, then I keep going and I see the rest of the room. Too many people though, they don't do that. And watch as I pre-aim this corner. I know there's enemies nearby and I am cutting the pie. And look at that, I'm getting free kills because of it. I am pre-aiming properly, I am cutting the angles, and I am eliminating all of the possible spots my enemies could be. Look at that peek, I just did it there. Before the doorway, before that guy came in, I was cutting the pie. If you watch me play Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, this is something I'm doing all of the time. As I said before, this is a core skill you need to learn. When I play Valorant, and I play Valorant at a kind of decent level, I'm not the best, I don't put that much time into it, but I was platinum, almost diamond for a little bit, and one of the core skills I learned is how to actually properly peek. You don't peek the whole angle at once because that's going to overexpose you. That's going to lead you to die. Boom, right there. I just cut the pie, got a nice little two-piece, even though those are actually bots because there's AI in this invasion ground war mode, which I don't like. But you see the same fundamentals across all of this. And whether or not there's actually people there, you want to be cutting the pie. That's what people don't realize. It's not about just always setting up free kills or whatnot. It's about saving your life in case there's enemies there and making you a better player by anticipating your enemies. One of the worst things that people don't realize is you have to learn to anticipate your enemies. You have to play that what if game. What if there's someone in this room? What if there's someone around the corner? How am I going to play it? How am I going to peek it? All of these things you have to be thinking about. And if you don't think about it, you're going to end up getting killed. Also, quick little note, it's actually called slicing the pie, not cutting the pie. I don't know why I kept saying cutting the pie. Just know it's actually called slicing the pie. I know it's a little thing, but I just kind of felt like clarifying that. But just to recap pretty much everything I'm saying. Number one is slice the pie, guys. Play your angles properly. Slowly break down that pie. Don't overexpose yourself. And that was going to be number two is don't overexpose yourself. What I mean by this is if you peek too far out, if you don't cut the pie, you're exposing yourself to multiple lines of sight from your enemies, and that's just going to end up being a disaster for you. What you really have to focus on, as I said before, slicing the pie, don't overexpose yourself, and make sure you're pre-aiming, guys. And lastly, the fourth thing I meant to say is play the what if game. Pre-aim, center well, slice the pie, and you're going to end up having a much better time. And this is one of those skills that doesn't just apply to Warzone. You can use this in pretty much any first-person shooter you can think of, and that's why I think it's so valuable. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you guys, as I keep saying, are getting excited for Warzone 2, because I'm definitely excited. And as I said at the start of the video, if you're one of those turkeys who's on my football team, well, and if you actually made it to this point, I'm glad you stayed to the end. Anyways, guys, it's been Ryan. I hope you have a good day. Peace.